Hi, have you noticed how everyone around you experiences the world and everyday life in different ways? Our world is a diverse place, filled with people with diverse abilities. Some of them are persons with disabilities, or PWD. Let's learn about disabilities and, more importantly, how we can make the world a more inclusive place. Let's first start with the most basic question. What is a disability? A disability is a condition that affects a person's body or mind, which may affect how the person engages in daily tasks and life activities. In India, there is an important law to protect the rights of persons with disabilities. It is called the Rights of Persons with Disabilities RPwD Act, and it was passed in 2016. Before this, only 7 types of disabilities were recognized, but this act expanded this to 21 recognized disabilities. It guarantees their rights like education, employment, and equal access to public spaces. Let's look at what these 21 disabilities are. We can put them into 5 broad categories. There are physical disabilities. These include locomotor disability, dwarfism, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, leprosy cured persons, and acid attack survivors. These conditions affect how a person moves, uses their body, or experiences it physically. They may affect muscle strength or height and could mean difficulty with walking or using their limbs. Some may also result from the lasting effects of an injury or illness. There are also sensory disabilities, including blindness, low vision, hearing impairment, and speech and language disability. These affect how a person sees, hears, or communicates through speech. A person with sensory disability may interact with the world through different channels. For example, through touch or sound, using braille, sign language, or assistive technology. All the disabilities we've talked about so far are ones that you can notice when you meet someone. But many disabilities are invisible, which means you wouldn't know just by looking at someone that they have one. Let's look at what they are. There are disabilities caused by blood disorders, hemophilia, thalassemia, and sickle cell disease. These are conditions where the blood does not work the way it typically should, which leads to pain, fatigue, and other health challenges. Then there are disabilities caused by neurological and chronic conditions. Multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and other chronic neurological conditions such as Alzheimer's and epilepsy. These conditions affect the brain and the nervous system, and so may impact movement, memory, emotions, and energy levels. Some begin in childhood and some develop later in life. Mental illness refers to conditions that affect mood, thinking, and perception, sometimes to the extent that it impacts their daily functioning and behavior. Examples include schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Then there are intellectual and developmental disabilities, autism spectrum disorder, specific learning disabilities, and intellectual disability. These affect how a person's brain and body develop, and hence how they learn, communicate, process information, and feel the world around them. They fall under an umbrella term called neurodiversity. It's the idea that human brains naturally work in many different ways. People with these conditions are neurodivergent. Their brain simply works differently from what's considered typical. Lastly, when a person has 2 or more disabilities, it is recognized as multiple disabilities. Deaf blindness is one such example. There is one other condition which you may have come across: ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It affects focus, attention, and impulse control. ADHD is not recognized as a disability in India under the RPwD Act, but it is in many other countries. Now, let's think about how we perceive disability. For a long time, people thought disability was a medical problem, something that needed to be fixed in the person. But today, we have a much more powerful way to understand it. Think about this. If the whole world was made of only ramps, would a person using a wheelchair have a disabling experience? Probably not. This is what the social model of disability says. A disability is not just the condition that a person has, it's also the barriers that they face because the world was not designed with them in mind. These barriers could be physical, like inaccessible infrastructure, or they can be social, like assumptions people make about disabilities and not being given opportunities. And that's something all of us can help change. Many people with disabilities have gone on to excel in art, sports, science, business, and so much more. They show us what is possible when the world actually makes room for everyone. And this begins with how we show up in our everyday interactions with persons with disabilities as true allies. Speak to them directly, naturally, and respectfully as you would to any other person. Don't change your tone or slow down unnecessarily or speak only to their support person. Doing that sends the message that you don't see them as capable of speaking up for themselves. Use person first language. Say person with disability instead of disabled person. We put the person first because disability is just a part of who they are, not their entire identity. That said, some communities do prefer identity first language, like autistic person. So when in doubt, simply ask the person for their preference. Ask before you help. Not every person with disability needs assistance, and assuming that takes away from their independence, even though you mean well. If you'd like to help, offer first, wait for a yes, then follow their lead. And in the same spirit, don't speak on behalf of them. Let them speak for themselves. Learn and unlearn. You're already doing that right now. Learning about disabilities and the lived experiences of people, and at the same time, letting go of assumptions you have. This is how you become an ally. You don't need to have all the answers, you just need to be open to learning. If we want an inclusive dunya, a world where people of all abilities can participate, belong, and thrive, we need to actively think about the role each of us can play in building it and do what we can around us. It starts with knowing, and now you do. So let's build an inclusive dunya together.